My video for October 24th, 2019 is video number 3246. The title is Re-Examine Everything. Find the Nuggets of Truth. On my previous video, as shown on YouTube, there were, as always, recommended videos. One featured Rabbi Jonathan Cahn, dated on my birthday. It was posted by a site called In God We Trust. I was curious enough to click the link, not knowing what to expect. I ended up listening and watching the entire lecture that lasted nearly an hour. Then I watched a second video by the same man. Unlike the Cassiopean material I've been devouring of late that makes it sound as if our lives are meaningless, as I interpret part of it, this one triggered a re-examination of things I was taught from my youth. Yes, I have learned to sift material because everything is mixed, truth with lies. The rabbi's message obviously found resonance. I spent nearly 2 hours with this guy online. He was delivering his messages, and there are more, in what appeared like Christian churches. I especially liked his comparison of biblical history with current events that he repeated in both videos. To me, it's good advice to look for and try to find nuggets of truth in a world of obvious lies. Many will like what he says about the Clintons, Obama, and Trump in light of prophecy. Others will not. And I got to fix a little mistake there. Done. Anyway, yeah, I had no intention of listening to a rabbi or a Christian preacher or anything. In fact, most of the time when I see such things, I don't even waste my time anymore because I've heard it all over and over and over most of my life. One of the things that the rabbi said that kept me watching was he made it clear that he's not trying to sit in judgment. He's just giving an analysis of his own life. And he was an atheist. At one point, he had totally rejected the idea of God as a young adolescent. He just didn't want anything to do with it anymore and was involved in a lot of things that we would consider worldly or sinful, at least those of us that were raised as Christians. And he did say at one time, he said, God, I'm gonna turn back to you before I die. And then he had 2 near-death experiences. One of them, miraculously, it was in a storm and the visibility was poor, and somehow he was on a railroad track with a railroad train heading toward him, and he went to back up, but there was a car behind him. And the railroad train hit him and demolished the car, but somehow he was ejected from the car and left unscratched, unscathed. And at that, he went to a mountain or a hill near where he lived. I think he's from New Jersey, actually, where I grew up. And he ended up getting down on the mountain. Didn't know anything about turning his life over to God, but he prayed and he says, okay, God, you got my attention. And turned his life over to God. He found out later that the mountain that he was on was a place where they worshipped Baal, a pagan god, for those of you that understand that religion and the pagan religions. And he said a lot of interesting things, and he certainly has had a fascinating life. And now he's, I guess, a type of a rabbinical evangelist, speaking in, I don't know the range of his church. I only watched 2 of his lectures, but I'm assuming that a lot of it is in Christian churches, although I'm sure that there are other places where he also is able to give his discourse, because it's a fascinating story uh, of his personal history. Now, when I mentioned in the blurb the Cassiopean material, and some of that is coming supposedly from the seventh dimension, and they keep saying, but you can't understand from where you are now, you can't understand what we're talking about in the seventh dimension because you have no point of reference. It would be nonsense for us to try to tell you of a reality that you don't have any conscious recollection of or any personal experience in your now life. And of course, it's saying that reincarnation is real and that the soul keeps going on and on in many lives. And there's lots of evidence of that, by the way, or at least apparent evidence that people have been born and little children have remembered past lives. So that's not really what this particular video is about, but I'm trying to encourage all of us, all of you that listen anyway, to my videos. I'm trying to give encouragement to take, when you find something new, yes, explore it, but don't be afraid to go back and re-explore or re-examine something that you've gone through before, because you're in a different place now, and your mind and being are going to be able to pick up things that you weren't able to pick up or resonate with at an earlier time, because now you have more time under your belt, more experience, and more points of reference that you can sift through all of the confusion. And we do live on a planet of confusion. There are so many religions and teachings, and atheism is a religion, folks. It's just a religion that says there is no God instead of one that says there is a God. And then there's, of course, agnosticism, which is what I've been more or less embracing of late. Because as I look at all of these things, I realize things that I once thought I knew, I can no longer have the confidence that I actually knew them. But this guy, this Jonathan Cahn, this rabbi, and I don't know if he went to some kind of schooling to become a rabbi, or if it's just a name he's attached to himself. I don't really know. It means teacher, of course. But in any case, this is a story that I think that a lot of people would find of interest, that are willing and open-minded enough to look at other points of view. I am not against Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, atheism even. I mean, I understand how some people can become atheists because God doesn't answer prayer. And that's the bottom line. That's one of the main reasons why someone would not want to be a believer in God, because they've prayed and they've tried to live good lives, and they feel like they've been let down, and God has disappointed them, not just disappointed them, but actually failed to hear and to answer their prayer in ways that are tangibly evident, that you can, beyond the shadow of a doubt, evidence. That, I mean, I would like that myself, but it doesn't exist in my personal experience. I've been praying for 3 years or more to heal my numb feet, and my numb feet still exist, which limits me in fast dancing and running. And of course, I don't have the stamina that I used to have, and a lot of things have changed, but I am 73 years old now. So that is some explanation for some of it, but not the numbness of my feet and stuff like that. That's a crazy thing. Anyway, I'm once again inviting you to try to keep an open mind and be willing to go back and re-explore things that you've looked at in the past. Thank you for listening, and namaste.